The previous regime, corrupt and incompetent, had left the country bankrupt. People hoped the new communist government would bring unity and peace. Mao and his colleagues had a vision of momentous change. They wanted to transform the lives of 1/4 of mankind and create a strong and modern industrial China. The communists forged a new political structure. They set up a network of party branches which reached down from the capital to every village in the country. The communists organized people into work units, which provided employment, health care, housing, and education. Work units also gave the party direct control over people's lives. In the countryside, the changes were just as profound. For centuries, most peasants had struggled to survive hardship and poverty. During the revolution, Mao had won peasant support with promises of a better life. Now he gave them land. Party officials told peasants to seize property from their landlords. Officials encouraged peasants to humiliate and beat their landlords. Often, the violence went much further. Across China, hundreds of thousands of landlords were killed. Nearly half of all China's arable land was distributed to poor peasants. Mao was the party visionary, a poet, and a romantic revolutionary for whom no theory was sacred. He was also an astute strategist. Mao believed that China needed strong international support, and within weeks of taking power in 1949, he visited Moscow. But Joseph Stalin was a difficult ally. For 3 days, he did not even acknowledge Mao's presence in Moscow. Finally, he gave the Chinese limited aid and agreed to a defense treaty. On his return to Beijing, Mao addressed his colleagues. Chief among the imperialists was America. The United States did not recognize Mao's government. Only months after this speech, the two sides would be at war in Korea. Mao's government was barely a year old and in the midst of radical reforms. It could hardly afford a war, but Mao felt the UN forces were an intolerable threat to China's security. Under the command of General Peng Dehuai, 250,000 Chinese troops secretly crossed into Korea. At the end of October 1950, they attacked, taking the UN forces completely by surprise. The UN troops soon fled in a massive retreat. In China, the government launched a propaganda campaign called Resist America and Aid Korea. By the spring of 1951, the war was a grim stalemate. Both sides were dug in around the 38th parallel, separating North and South Korea. While fighting continued, peace talks began. In China, the war created great national pride. The Chinese army had suffered terribly, with nearly 1 million casualties. But it had fought to a standstill the armies of the strongest nations in the world. And the Resist America campaign proved how effectively Mao's government could mobilize the entire country. Now it began a series of smaller campaigns against people inside China, people Mao called enemies without guns.
应当向其向政府坦白，应当在国际上这种开展一个反行贿、反偷税漏税、反盗取国家资财、反偷工减料的斗争。全国的一切外国同胞不应当团结起来，战胜这些旧社会遗留下来的无德而斗争。
Party officials encouraged people to act as informers using special letterboxes. Thousands were jailed or executed. People with money, with foreign connections, or with ties to the previous regime. With these campaigns, the communists crushed all potential political opposition. But the vast majority of people were not hurt by the campaigns. For many Chinese, life was improving.
我们有充分的信心，克服一切艰难困苦。 将我国建设成为一个伟大的社会主义共和国。